Well, that is a wrap. The final statements have been given in this year's devolution conference that was hosted right here in Homa Bay County. And we've just seen the keynote. This coverage of the devolution conference right here. To give you an update of some of the major takeaways from this year's devolution conference. Of course, there will be resolutions of which we'll be giving you in our subsequent bulletins right here on KTN. But just to summarize what exactly has been canvassed by various speakers, including Cabinet Secretary for Treasury John Mbadi, we've equally had remarks from the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, of which, if you were following, you definitely were able to catch a thing or two on matters devolution. We heard from the COG chair mentioning that Kindiki sort of brought professionalism to the IBEC. IBEC is the inter-governmental organization which includes governors from all the 47 counties, chaired by the Deputy President, this time round, Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki. The leaders equally mentioned there's a challenge of national government budget not appropriating what's passed by the two houses after lengthy mediations. That's one of the challenges that the counties have encountered when it comes to that equitable shareable revenue, which is pegged at roughly 415 billion. Remember, it's 15 billion more than what was allocated in the last financial year. We've equally heard from Mbadi, who gave the assurance that the Treasury will prioritize timely release of funds to the counties, which is of key importance to the stakeholders from the county governments. They voiced their opinions, mentioning that the delayed disbursement of funds to the counties is really hampering service delivery in the counties. And of course, the Treasury have defended themselves, saying that by the end of this financial year, they were able to disburse all the money that was owed to counties. But remember, according to the Constitution, that money should have been disbursed by the 15th of every month. And we've seen delays of up to 3 months, and this definitely puts the counties in between a rock and a hard place in terms of perhaps approaching banks, financial institutions, in order to meet their obligations when it comes to salaries and such things. Well, Mbadi gave that assurance, saying that public finance management is paramount. Equally, the resolutions are simply adopted as a call to act. That was a message from the COG chair. Let's take a look at what the Deputy President had to say just today. He reaffirmed the collective commitment to embedding equity, inclusion, and social justice into the fabric of devolved government structures. The conference serves as a mechanism of accountability. That's according to the Deputy President. And according to that theme, remember, across the 3 days, we had various themes. On the first day, the theme was centered on good governance. And according to the Deputy President, this theme reaffirms public participation, civic education, and fidelity to the rule of law. It's not just an ideal, according to the Deputy President. This is the reality, and the county governments, including the national government, should be living with this reality. Now, deliberations on human rights and social justice were on day 2 right here on Thursday in Homa Bay County. That was the theme for day 2. And according to the Deputy President, this brought focus to embedding rights-based approach within devolved governance structures. And I'm not alone. Daniel Kariuki can equally shed light on a couple of issues that were mentioned right here during the devolution conference. Right, Kariuki?
Right. I think what we are going to be looking forward to is the but the way the resolutions that they are going to be issuing are going to be implemented. In the last devolution conference in Eldoret, that was in Gishu County, all the 34 resolutions that were agreed upon in that devolution conference were implemented as they were coming for this 9th devolution conference here in Homa Bay County. So, of course, once we see the issues that they have deliberated on and how they are going to implement them, we are going now to see if by 2027 we are going to be having these resolutions being implemented. There's something you've touched about, the disbursement of funds to the counties, and I think this is something also the president addressed on the first day of the conference when he officially opened it, and he's actually said that they had released the funds for July. For this year, 2025-2026. Of course, most of the time we've had the government say they have released the money, they have dispersed the money, but again, the Council of Governors come and say that no, we have not received the money. So this is something, again, that we are going to be following keenly to see if indeed what has been said here is going to be happening. But also the issue to do with members of the county assembly and also pension for the members of the county assembly. The president raised it, then former prime minister, that's the ODM leader Raila Odinga, again brought the issue to do with governors for the 2 terms. So again, we are looking at a possibility of having laws being passed in the National Assembly or Senate concerning pension for members of the county assembly and maybe governors as well. That's something also that we'll be keen to see. Various issues have also been addressed, including, you've mentioned about corruption. On the first day, the president mentioned it, and the second day also the former prime minister mentioned it. But today, I did not hear the deputy president really touch on matters to do with corruption. Maybe he felt like the past leaders, the key leaders in the first 2 days, maybe they addressed it in a different manner and decided to just stick on matters to do with devolution. And of course, they have launched something to do with the feeding program for children, something that also has had a back and forth with governors saying that they are not receiving the funds for feeding the children. Remember, they are the ones who are in charge of the ECDs. So this has also been something that has generated a debate in the counties. So a lot has been discussed here, Jesse.
Definitely, and remember President William Ruto, when he came on Wednesday, he had just signed a couple of bills into law, actually giving autonomy to the county assemblies. They won't be under the executive, the county executive, when it comes to matters managing finances, and that is a step in the right direction since they are supposed to oversight the county executive. And it's not just that. We've equally, as you've mentioned, karaoke, we've seen the launch of the model of the school feeding policy,
right,
which will definitely see distribution across the 47 counties. As you mentioned, the early childhood development education classes are under the county government, and various counties had started engaging some private stakeholders in terms of availing food to these young learners. We've seen Nairobi County, Mombasa County, just to name a few, but this policy will enable all counties to streamline in order to provide this much important nutritional value to the young minds and the young learners. The Deputy President equally encouraged collaboration between the national and county governments and key partners. Case in point, county aggregation industrial parks, which are a critical anchor, according to the Deputy President, in terms of their job creation agenda under the Better program. Not just that, health sector, through partnerships of both levels of government, where he mentioned that I think it's roughly over 25 million Kenyans who have already registered for Taifa Care. According to him, it's a key step in terms of achieving universal health coverage across the country.
It's something that also the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Aden Duale, yesterday, while he was addressing the conference, said that they are moving to ensure that, that there is that collaborative working formula between the national government and the county government to ensure that this health issue is being addressed, and also is the healthcare, the universal healthcare is being implemented in the right way so that the county governments are not left behind, and also the national government work in a good way with the counties in terms of matters to do with health. And also the president warned the governors, you remember the first time, about charging Kenyans in the level 2, level 3 hospitals, saying that the outpatient yes, under SHA, they should cover. The national government has covered, so the county government should not be charging Kenyans on that because he said that is like they are being charged twice. They are paying.
He mentioned that, you know what, counties are bragging about increased in on-source revenue.
Right.
Yet at the end of the day, they might be charging some of this people who are seeking health services
in the counties. So that's something I think. And I've also realized, Jesse, most of the panels that I have visited, most of the meetings that I've gone to, panel discussions, matters health has been key. It's something that I think this government, the Kenya Kwanza government, is very key. Is very keen on ensuring that they have tried to work and implement some of the policies that they are coming up with, because some of these policies have really faced a lot of resistance, maybe I would say. And you remember recently the president launched the machines to the counties, and of course medical equipments to the counties. So this also something else. I think that's why the government is very keen on ensuring that the issue to do with health is dealt with the best way, so that there is no this situation where they are finding themselves facing resistance from Kenyans themselves and say these policies are not working. So and that's what the cabinet secretary was saying, that Cabinet Secretary Eden Twele was saying that they can work with the county so that implementing these new policies becomes an easier job to them.
That's true. I was sitting in one of the breakaway sessions, and they were really keen on private-public collaborations, because the funding in the healthcare sector is a little bit wanting. They haven't been able to meet the margins in terms of the budget that they wanted to be given. So at the end of the day, some of these counties need to put their best foot forward, work towards some of these public-private collaborations. Case in point, they're giving an example of the Rakanithi County, which has been able to, through a PPC, a public-private collaboration. It's
Yes.
like PPPs, you know?
Yes.
But PPPs is more like infrastructure, roads and whatnot.
Yeah.
But when you come to PPCs, perhaps a company, a private company that has a medical lab equipment is able to offer their services to the county. Of course, the price margins are not too high in order to ensure that it's affordable, quality healthcare. So that's just one of the examples in terms of ways to ensure that they are bridging the gap when it comes to the funding deficits that we've seen emerge across various services, both devolved and some at the national government.
And also something that I'm looking forward to, Jesse, is the issue to do with the national government constituency development fund. Because the Speaker of the National Assembly says the NGCDF is going nowhere.
Yes.
Not from the members of the parliament. This is an issue that was raised by the ODM leader Raila Odinga yesterday. And so definitely it's something that is going to be very, it will cause a lot of political heated debate,
you know, between members of parliament and senators and governors on the other side. Raila Odinga mentioned that MPs should stick to their role.
Exactly.
Legislation, representation, oversight. They should have nothing to do with disbursing bursaries. Money, stay away from it. Stick to your core functions, which are clearly defined in the Constitution.
And it's going to be very interesting if already they have the members of parliament are already replying, or rather responding to ODM leader and saying that no, this CDF has really done a lot in the constituencies. That the county governments cannot go to each and every home in the county. Some counties are a bit expansive, and so it becomes a bit tricky to ensure that every child gets education. So it's a debate that I know I'm anticipating is going to be very interesting, and it was in the NADCO report actually.
Yes.
To be entrenched in the constitution.
And it's not just that. Remember, Raila Odinga was very emotive about the roles of counties and national government.
Right.
According to Raila Odinga, it doesn't make sense for someone from the Kenya Urban Roads Authority to go and inspect a road in Homa Bay County, coming all the way from Nairobi to Homa Bay County to inspect roads, rural roads. It doesn't make sense to the former Prime Minister.
Right.
He says perhaps we need to walk towards a place where we make amendments to the laws in place to ensure some of these roles actually pass to the devolved units. Remember, there are 14 devolved functions,
Right,
which range from waste management to which other devolved, ECDE management, health is equally devolved, so many.
Agriculture actually is also devolved.
Exactly.
And then you talked about education, and
Yes.
the former Prime Minister was proposing that education should be devolved to the secondary level. And that of course again is something that the national government will consider, because he was saying that it makes sense for the Cabinet Secretary for Education to come all the way from Nairobi to a rural primary school
To launch a primary school.
to launch a new classroom in the counties, and it's in the village. And the former Prime Minister felt like that should be the work of the governors, maybe, or maybe the CEC's education here in the counties. Also, something else he talked about was the issue of governors being summoned to go to the Senate in Nairobi. To him, he was saying, you are leaving your county all the way, like you actually used the example of Homa Bay, or Migori, or the neighboring county of Kisii, moving all the way to Nairobi to be summoned for queries and for oversight by the Senate. And yet the members of the county assembly, or rather the county assembly, is just maybe close to your office. The former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was saying this should be happening. The MCAs should be the ones that are actually doing that.
Okay, that's interesting. Equally, the president gave his assurance that, you know, some of these devolved functions will actually be devolved in terms of the 14 functions that are supposed to be under the county governments. He gave that assurance in December 2024 that they will truly be devolved. But at the end of the day, not all of those functions have been rendered to the county governments. And it's definitely work in progress. It'll take time. Let's just see if they walk the talk.
Indeed, of course, most of the time this devolution conference, a lot is said, but little is implemented. Let's see if this time round, as they say that they had implemented what they resolved in Uasin Gishu, will it happen here in Homa Bay? We'll see that. But of course, we have a lot that we have been trying to gather for you to ensure that we give you a feel of what the devolution conference has been about, and various institutions were represented here. And earlier, we had spoken to Kipra, who were telling us how they have managed to ensure that this devolution and the county governments come together to have the national government and the county governments come together to ensure that they have worked in a collaborative way. Let's just listen in.
My name is Dr. Elda Onsom, the Acting Executive Director, Kipra. Kipra is a think tank in Kenya. We are a state department. We are under the State Department for Economic Planning, which is under the National Treasury. As Kipra, we have supported devolution from the beginning. We undertake research, policy analysis, and evidence generation, which is critical for informing devolution. In this research that we undertake, we have so far undertaken work in various areas, including estimating the Public Affairs Index, working on devolution at 10, working on the index on fintech across counties, working on an index for climate change preparedness and readiness in the country. We have generated the model for county revenue forecasting. We are also working on the areas that relate to the county and devolution, as well as looking at where we are going to influence as we sustain development in the country. As Kipra, we have been working on planning and budgeting for children, which is very important when it comes to social sector development and social sector planning, implementation, and financing. Kipra has also supported counties through the State Department for Economic Planning in preparing the county integrated development plans. In the meantime, we are working on the framework that is being used to monitor the CIDPs, and hence, as we implement devolution, and as an institute, we are right at the center of evidence generation and also supporting the counties as well as the technical teams to ensure that devolution works. As Kipra, we have also worked with various partners like UNICEF, the EU, as well as the UNDP and UN Women and other UN agencies and World Bank to generate evidence on fiscal incidence analysis and Women Development Index, which shows us how women are empowered and how we should prioritize the sectors that are important for economic empowerment. As Kipra, we have worked with various sectors to focus on the social sectors. And these social sectors include health, education, social protection, WASH, climate change, among others. As we worked with these various sectors and partners, as well as counties and the National Development Drought Management Authority, we were able to come up with mechanisms of supporting nutrition, for instance, areas to support in education, areas to support in health, social protection, child development, children's services, as well as water, sanitation, and hygiene. These sectors are very important for sustained development because you need, as a nation, to invest in children and early development of our young people. In some of these studies, what we have found is that when we invest early, in the first 1,000 days, you are generating sustained human capital for the nation. And as a country, our population, which is aged 0 to 8 years, they are over 41%. For the various youth who are aged 35 years and below, they are over 75%. This means as a nation, we have a youthful population. A youthful population, which means if we invest in health, education, social protection, vulnerable groups, nutrition, among others, we'll be able to prepare human capital.
What has to do with school feeding program that we were discussing earlier. They have been involved to ensure that this proposal, or rather the policy that has officially been launched today is going to be implemented in the right manner. And it has been 4 days of coverage of the devolution conference here in Homa Bay County. As we wrap it up, what's your take?
Well, it's been quite extensive rather, in terms of major takeaways. We've learned so much that devolution is not just a one-man team or a 47-man team. They include stakeholders, non-governmental players, NGOs, private sector entities, in order to make this devolution a success. Remember, it's only 12 years into devolution. It's still a baby. In its teens, it's approaching its teens. So much potential, untapped potential when it comes to these devolved units. They've been pushing for increased allocation of resources, but the president gave them a challenge. Make sure you're using the resources we've given you, even if they're not enough, prudently, in order to make sure that service delivery is truly encompassed as it was envisioned by the promulgators of the 2010 Constitution.
Right. Thank you very much, Jesse. And just like Jesse has put it, we've been giving you a wall-to-wall coverage of the devolution conference, the 9th edition of the devolution conference from Homa Bay County. And at that point, we're going to be wrapping it up on behalf of everyone that has made it possible for this devolution conference to be broadcasted live from Homa Bay. That's Evelyn, who was our producer, our director, Matheka, as well as the cameraman that side as Nyongesa, as well as Dan, and the technical team led by Mr. Gashao, Mr. Sam Wendo,
Yes,
and all the others, including even our drivers. We want to say thank you very much. My name is Daniel Karaoke, but at 4 p.m., Suleiman Yeri will be giving us updates at the Biu here, KTN. For now.
And my name is Jesse Rogers. Remember, Dan Karaoke will be giving you updates on the recommendations that were passed right here at the Devolution Conference from 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. So do stay tuned to KTN.
Indeed, and we hand it over to the programming.